What's up, guys? Thomas Mott here. Welcome into the Thomas Mott Show on a Monday. We're rocking the vintage Philadelphia Eagles Kelly green shirt because we are actually in football week. This is the actual first week of the National Football League season. Thursday night, you got the opener, and then our Philadelphia Eagles will take a little road trip to Detroit to take on the Lions. More about that game coming up in just a couple of days. First, though, I want to jump into today's show looking at my biggest concerns for the Eagles. Now, we talk a lot about it, and everyone really in the entire Philadelphia media has talked a ton about how good the Eagles look, right? Everyone is saying Jalen Hurts is going to ball out this year, including myself. They're going to win the NFC East, right? They have the best offensive line, the best defensive line. The secondary's been revamped. All those things are correct. However, there are still some concerns that I think all of us have deep down. So I'm going to go through the top five biggest concerns, in my opinion, for the Philadelphia Eagles. Will they all come true? Are they all actual legit concerns? I don't know. It's up to you. But I think these are still kind of the 5 question marks that could derail an Eagles season. Maybe not derail, but make them a little bit worse than we are hoping that they would be. Now, again, before we start, I think Philadelphia wins the NFC East. I think Jalen Hurts absolutely balls out and gets a long-term deal at the end of the season. I think they're going to be a playoff team, obviously. I'm very much in on Philadelphia if you've not actually watched the show yet. However, there still are some, maybe minor concerns that we need to go ahead and run through. The first of which really is the running game. And more specifically, I would have to go ahead and say Miles Sanders. Miles Sanders is an absolute massive question mark. I mean, a huge question mark in terms of how available is he? You talk about the hamstring injury during training camp, barely played after that first preseason game. And not just him, the people behind him, right? Could they actually go ahead and fill in for Sanders if there was, heaven forbid, a massive injury? As you go through the depth chart, the 4 big names, right? Sanders, who right now is questionable for Sunday. He's not officially been cleared to play against the Detroit Lions. Then you have Gainwell, then you have Boston Scott, and newly signed Trey Sermon. Now, Sermon was a very exciting signing. A lot of people talking about how, he's going to, get a lot of touches. They got a steal for a former third-round draft pick. I was a little hesitant in my video. You can go back and watch that. Not necessarily convinced he's going to play more than Boston Scott or Kenny Gainwell. But the real question here is, if there were to be some problems with Miles Sanders, an injury, production, fumbling the football, he's had that in the past, could they still be a very effective rushing team? Now, statistics say yes. You would think they would go ahead and be absolutely fine doing that. You can think about, the fact that they had Boston Scott run the football well when Sanders was out last year. They were still the number 1 overall rushing football team. But that, to me, is kind of the one question mark, maybe on the entire offense, that we don't know the answer to. How good is Sanders going to be? How healthy is Sanders going to be? And is he going to actually make a big-time impact for the Philadelphia Eagles? And if he doesn't, then there's definitely a chance for a big-time trade at the trade deadline. Think back to 2017. That team knew it was stacked, but they needed a kind of another punch at running back. He'll make a move for Jay Ajayi, and the rest is history. He was fantastic for Philadelphia and really helped them go to the Super Bowl and win the Super Bowl. You could see a similar trade like that happen around the deadline if Sanders doesn't look good. A Josh Jacobs, a Saquon Barkley, names that a lot of people have thrown out there as possibilities for the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, as we get going here, that's just the first one. I think a lot of you guys are starting to think now, what is your biggest concern? Do you have a big concern for Philadelphia? Am I crazy on all the ones I'm going to give you today? Because again, hopefully not all of them are going to be actual, real concerns when the season starts. But if you have a real concern, let me know what that is down below right now. Okay, my next, I don't know if we call this concern, but it's definitely a question mark. Let's just talk about rookie impact. Now, we talk, obviously, in Philadelphia land, especially, some of the big talking heads this offseason about the rookies, but mainly Jordan Davis and Nakobe Dean, because Cam Jurgens is not going to play a lot, at least early on, due to the fact that Kelsey should be healthy for week 1. Hopefully, there's an update on that a little bit later on this week. But I think a lot of people are expecting Jordan Davis and Nakobe Dean to be instant impact players. And we've seen little bits and pieces of that. I think the first preseason game where Jordan Davis had a couple of nice, plays to spring open, running lanes for Nakobe Dean to make some good tackles. But as you go through these two defenders, you've got to at least ask the question, are they going to be big-time impact players? Are they going to be people that, opposing teams are afraid of week 1? Or is it going to take a while for them to go ahead and actually make impact plays on defense? I think we need to pump the brakes a little bit here on these two rookies. Now, I love them. I love Jordan Davis. I love Nakobe Dean. I think this draft class specifically by Philadelphia was really well put together. But I think we need to go ahead and recognize that there are plenty of other guys around them who really are going to be taking charge and, holding that torch early on until these guys are up to speed. Most notably on the defensive line, Javon Hargrave and Milton Williams. They're going to play a bunch this year. They actually have actual NFL experience, and even though Jordan Davis will be rotated in there as we expect him to, you can't forget about a Hargrave or a Milton Williams who might be a little more, week 1 ready than Jordan Davis. And likewise, Kyzir White is going to have really a good season, I think. He's going to play a ton for Philadelphia. you might not see Nakobe Dean out there as much as a lot of fans would like to see early on, but I want to preface that is going to be okay. If Jordan Davis and Nakobe Dean aren't superstars right out of the bat, which most of us don't think that they will right away, just know that they are building towards something, and really, the big years for them are going to be year 2 and year 3. That's when you really expect Davis to become a star, and hopefully Dean to at least become a starter. But right now, especially at linebacker, White and TJ Edwards, those guys have really solidified themselves as the starting linebackers, so Dean will get in on special teams, and he will mix in there maybe on some nickel or dime defenses if they need some more speed on the outside. Okay, next big worry here, and this might be my biggest one, and we'll talk more about the other 2 in a second because I did give you guys 5 on this list. Jonathan Gannon. And I thought about putting all the coaches together in one, but I think Jonathan Gannon really needs to go ahead and be highlighted as a major concern for Philadelphia Eagle fans going into this season. I was looking up the Eagles stats last year, and Lineups does a really good job here on this website in terms of team defensive rankings, and so they kind of give you each section that the team actually has. So points, defense, sacks, interceptions, turnovers, points allowed, and stuff like that. You saw the Bills, ranked first on this lineup. But as you go through the defensive list, you find Philadelphia sitting there at 18th. Now, they were really good in terms of points, but then as you scroll down here, obviously you got to get into something like sacks. They were really, really bad. They were terrible on third down, and the list goes on and on. There's a lot of red here and yellow, which is really bad for Philadelphia. You go to the 28 right there. That's pass completion percentage. They gave up a ton of completions, playing that kind of shell defense that Gannon is so well known for. Here's the problem with Jonathan Gannon, or really the question mark for Jonathan Gannon. We're talking about question marks here for Philadelphia. Did he learn from his mistakes last year? Right, because there were tons of times when they played really, really good quarterbacks where Jonathan Gannon's defense got absolutely torched. Now, pass rush is a big key in his defensive scheme. He thinks he can get pressure with 4. He can go ahead and drop 7. Or drop 7 in coverage, and that will give, opposing defenses a lot of fits. He has a lot better players, and that's the important thing to note. This defense is leagues better than it was last year, and this is kind of the players he needs to fit his scheme. But if this defense starts to struggle, especially early on, everybody in Philadelphia land is going to want to go ahead and get rid of Jonathan Gannon because there were too many times last year where this defense got absolutely torched by good quarterbacks and were only really good versus the bad ones. And I think we're really concerned about that overall. I think Gannon really is going to make or break his NFL career as a coordinator this year. If he balls out, he's going to get a head coaching job in 2023. If they're mediocre or less than, average, he is 100% going to get fired and will be delegated back to the, assistant defensive backs coach or something, one of those lesser coaching positions versus being an actual DC. So definitely a big concern. I think you guys are really concerned about Gannon as well. I give this video a thumbs up. If Gannon is a big concern for you, give this video a thumbs up because I'm very much concerned about what he's going to do with the talent because the talent really is right there. Okay, I think the next big question here in terms of, Philadelphia is the team ready to win a lot? And I think that that's something that we can talk about as a question mark for Philadelphia because a lot of the guys in this team, obviously taking aside some of the, star players, some of the guys who've been there a while, really have not won a lot recently. And you go back the past couple of years in Philadelphia, they've had some success, but not as much success as you would like them to go ahead and have. And as it's just kind of what ties in with what you just talked about with the Jonathan Gannon situation. And really, this one is important to me. Can you beat the good football teams? Now, what the good news is that Philadelphia doesn't have a lot of good quarterbacks on their schedule. And we'll pull up the schedule on your screen right now. You can go through these. But this ties in with the Gannon situation of, can you actually beat good football teams? Because they haven't done that the past couple of years. They've beat a lot of bad football teams and not beaten a lot of good football teams. The good news is there aren't a lot of fantastic quarterbacks on the schedule this year. Second easiest in the National Football League, right? Obviously, Detroit is a game that they 100% should win. 4.5 point favorites right now. Minnesota, a great test on Monday Night Football. Really good test for your defense. Kirk Cousins, what's he going to be this year? But Washington, Carson Wentz, easy. Jacksonville, easy. Arizona without Nuke Hopkins should still be a relatively easy win. We got to talk about Dallas being not necessarily a great football team this year, but you need to win those games. Pittsburgh, obviously a rookie or Mitch Trubisky. Houston, Davis Mills. Washington again, and aging Matt Ryan. Great test on Sunday Night Football against Green Bay. I mean, that's really going to know how good Philadelphia is by week 12. Tennessee, New York, Chicago, Dallas, New Orleans, New York. I mean, you're talking about 2 or 3 really good quarterbacks on this entire schedule if you want to go include Kyler Murray, Dak Prescott, and and Aaron Rodgers there in week 12. And so this team is going to have a chance to go ahead and win a lot. Are they ready to win a lot? And are they ready to win a lot of games against really good quarterbacks? That's going to be my big question mark coming in here on this list going into the 2022 NFL season. All right, final one here on the Thomas Mott Show, and this is the obvious one. And the obvious one that everyone's going to go ahead and talk about is Jalen Hurts ready to be an actual star at quarterback? And I think the answer is yes. I think all of us agree that Hurts has gotten better every single year. His first time ever since high school having the same offensive system, the same coordinator and coaches, dating back to college. And then obviously with Doug Peterson early on. I mean, this is some real stability for a guy who has not had that throughout his career. Overcome adversity everywhere he's been. He's gotten a lot better every single year. And now he has a team that reflects his ability. I mean, really, what they've done is they built a team around what he does best. They've given him targets on the outside that he desperately needs and didn't have last year. The offensive line is obviously fantastic. They have running backs behind him. Now he has a great defense. Everything is there for Hurts to be great. But the question mark that not just Eagle fans, but everyone else has here, can he emerge into the superstar that most people think and really want him to be? I mean, you go through something like the Sporting News article talking about ranking the quarterbacks, and it shows you where most people see Jalen Hurts. You're not going to see him inside this top 10. You're going to see big names like Mahomes and Allen and Herbert and Burrow and Dak Prescott and Lamar Jackson. I mean, you got to keep going down this list even to get close to finding Jalen Hurts. I mean, 15th is where most people kind of see him as a quarterback, and every single time you read about Jalen Hurts, it always says plenty of room to grow, or he can be really, really good, yet to be seen. This is it. I mean, literally, put everything aside that we just talked about in terms of concerns. If Hurts balls out, he covers a multitude of sins on this list. He covers the running game issues. He covers, obviously, the defensive coordinator issues. He covers, can you beat good football teams? If he plays well, all of this is no. But if he struggles, then it's going to be up to the rest of the players in this football team to carry him to the playoffs, get him in there, and see if he can actually make something happen. And so he definitely is the big concern. But as I mentioned at the beginning of this video, as we wrap up, most of us believe Philadelphia has these concerns, under control. They're going to be just fine. And if Hurts plays very, very well, this could be a really, really good football team. And I'm pumped. I mean, we're here on a Monday. It's September 5th, early in the morning. We're talking about the fact that an Eagle football game takes place on Sunday. We're going to break down a lot more of that along with the rest of the stuff going on in the NFL later on in this week. So if you're new to the channel, welcome. Sure to go ahead and go down below and subscribe. Help us grow and help us reach as many Eagle fans as possible, as we're trying to be a really, really fun and great show for you guys here on YouTube. So subscribe and go down below and give this video a thumbs up as well. All right, there you go. That's it for today on this Monday edition of the Thomas Mott Show. Again, plenty more content coming up. Get ready for Sunday. Fly, Eagles fly. We'll see you guys in the next one.